Welcome to Splattergore. This is a brand new episode. I just got back from a convention, so I'm really in a good horror movie spirit. We're gonna talk about a couple different things. First, we're gonna talk about the It trailer. Another one dropped yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. And I thought it was really good. Really brought out the greatness that is Stephen King's work, but it got me thinking about clown movies. So we're going to talk a little bit about some clown movies over the years that I've seen. Recently I saw a movie called Clown, which was actually really good with the mythology of the clown, where it came from, because people have this phobia of clowns, whether it's an appearance in Zombieland, or it's that famous scene in Poltergeist of a little kid looking underneath the bed and getting pulled underneath. There's been times where studios have used the image of a clown, but there's no clown in the movie, like Funhouse would be one. And of course you have It, which is a classic movie. You have the movies based off John Wayne Gacy, who was a serial killer in the 1980s. But the one that always sticks out to me. Now, some people will say this movie is fucking garbage, but I love it. I've had my niece watch it. I've watched it. My fiance has watched it. It's really over the top. I love it. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, Killer Clowns from Outer Space was a movie I was going to do a review on back in October, but I got sick the whole month of October, so that really made it where I couldn't really do anything. So it's a lot of good slapstick stuff in there. The clown special effects are really good. The one-liners are delivered really well. Clown movies can be really good, but they can also be really scary. But then you have movies off in the corner like Killjoy, which I don't really find entertaining. And then you have movies like Drive-In, which is about a clown mascot called Horny the Clown that kills people. Even 31 had elements of clowns in there. A lot of the characters had clown makeup on, and it just wasn't a whole lot in there. So the clown genre is an interesting one at that. I don't watch a lot of them, but I've seen a handful of them. Now the next thing to really discuss is what I call what's a real horror fan and what's a non-real horror fan. Now there are some people out there that they just drop on the horror movie bandwagon. You have people that when they name drop Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Exorcist, Amityville Horror. Those are people who I call the bandwagoners, who really have no interest in the horror films as they go. And then you have the fake horror fans, like the people that go to a convention and they really have no interest in horror. They act like they do to try and give some glimpse of what horror really is. Now, the way I classify myself is I am a hardcore horror movie fan. To go into a little bit of detail, I have been watching horror movies since either 88 or 89. The first one, some of my earliest memories, I can remember watching Nightmare on Elm Street when not my oldest sister, but the sister underneath me used to watch me. I was babysitting me. She would always put on horror films, like to scare the shit out of me. So horror films, ever since I was 3 or 4 years old, have always been included in my life, in my movies. I used to have nightmares from them, but then I began to love them and sought out the what I call your badge of honor horror films. Now, yes, I've seen every Friday the 13th, every Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Chucky movies, Texas Chainsaw. But then you start to step outside the box and see what you like. Hostel opened up my mind to the torture genre, and then the borderline pain and pleasure movies, which was Hellraiser. I actually saw Hellraiser 2 before I saw Hellraiser 1. And then your funny occult movies, which would be like Evil Dead movies, which brought me into another genre. And then I have the slapstick zombie movies, which would be, the first one I remember seeing is Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead, directed by Peter Jackson. Over-the-top slapstick zombie movie, which then set me into like Return of the Living Dead and those style. But then there's the serious zombie movies, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, a lot of the Romero stuff, Carpenter, stuff Sean S. Cunningham did, Wes Craven I've seen, Shocker, People Under the Stairs, Serpent and the Rainbow. And of course, I made it a point to see the original Last House on the Left. I made it a point to watch the original I Spit on Your Grave, Cannibal Holocaust, Suspiria, Maniac. What I used to do is every weekend I would go and I would rent movies, like VHSs, from the local video store where I live, which is Silver Lake Video. And I got to absorb Piranha, Alligator, Crocodile, the Jaws movies, Tremors, the Ghoulies franchise, the Troll movies, Toxic Avenger, it's Critters, Gremlins, even though some people don't consider Gremlins a horror film, go with silent films, Universal horror, random slashers, like Return to Horror High, or Saturday the 14th, Terror Train, Prom Night, The Prowler, Pieces. All these random horror films that I just absorbed, and I realized that I like all genres of horror as long as it has a compelling story and it interests me. Some movies just have good special effects. There's some movies I like that other people can't stand. Like, I like Warlock and Warlock 2. People don't really like them. I love the Subspecies series. Now, when people think of Full Moon, they think of really bad special effects and really bad storylines, because they do the Puppet Master franchise, Demonic Toys, Evil Bong, Ginger Dead Man, Killjoy. But Subspecies is a vampire franchise that has a cult mixed in, and the main villain character is the villain in all the movies. It's just really good. The acting is just really good, and it brings you in and keeps you invested in the series. I would say the same thing about Hellraiser. Hellraiser, because of Doug Bradley, really emphasized, and they would go in different directions in some of the movies. Some were good and some were really bad, and that's what's going to take me into the next topic. Every franchise has bad movies. It doesn't matter what franchise you're talking about, they're all horrible. Whether you're looking at the Exorcist franchise, which, I'll be honest, I don't give a flying fuck about the Exorcist franchise. I think it's fucking stupid and dumb. I don't like supernatural movies. So that's not really for me, but the ones I'm going to talk about are the ones I like. Like, we're going to start with Halloween. Now, Halloween as a franchise as a whole is a good franchise, but out of the entire franchise, the ones I do not like is Halloween H2, directed by Rob Zombie, because it almost bastardized and killed the franchise. The next one I would say would be I don't like H2O. I never have. The story doesn't make sense with the rest of the series. And then, of course, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, because it doesn't really fit. It's like an oddball stepchild that's in there, and it just doesn't make sense. Nightmare on Elm Street would, of course, be Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. I think is a very weak entrant in the series. So is Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, because I thought that was pretty bad too. I actually like Freddy 2. I know a lot of people don't like it, but to me, it's one I like. Friday the 13th has Jason Goes to Hell, which is really weird and almost Twilight Zone-y, the way that they made that one. And another one in this series would be 5, because you think you're getting Jason, you're not getting Jason. It doesn't take place in Crystal Lake. It's just this weird movie. And I actually don't like the original Friday the 13th. I like the Jason ones. Now, I've learned to give it a sense of an appreciation over the years, but it still does not hold anything with me. Now, the Hellraiser franchise, one of the worst one in this series. Like, I could sit through Bloodline, and I could sit through Inferno, and Deader, and Hellseeker. It's Hellraiser Revelations. The first one after Doug left the series, I thought was pretty bad. It just, to me, didn't have any merit, anything going for it. It was just not a good movie, and you could tell that without Doug. The series is kind of off in the dark. So from there, we are going to do a little... I'm going to talk about horror movie guests that don't really want to be there. Now, one of the things that people don't understand is you're going to a convention. You're paying money to see these people. Like, you have some admiration for the people that you're going to interact with. And when you go there and you're going to meet them and they just act like you don't matter, or they want you to pay a certain amount of money to see them. One good thing would be Matthew Lillard was at the recent convention I went to, and he wanted so much money, and the only horror movies he's ever fucking been in is Scream and 13 Ghosts. Okay? He doesn't deserve that kind of money. And I've had bad experiences with a lot of people. As much as I like Doug Bradley, I met him this year and he just seemed disconnected. Like, I waited an hour and 20 minutes just to be able to meet this guy, and it was completing my Mount Rushmore of people to meet, and he just didn't really live up to it, I guess. But I've had, like, Ken Foree from Devil's Rejects and Texas Chainsaw 3 and Dawn of the Dead was a horrible fucking person to meet. He was bitter and angry and didn't really want to fucking be there, just like Heather Langenkamp, who is the biggest bitch I've ever met at any convention. She acted like she was better than anybody that was there. The fact is, she hasn't done shit for anything, and she just doesn't get it. It's just the aspect of she needs to be more engaging with your fans. And being more engaging with your fans is what you should be doing. Like, Suzanne Snyder I met this year, and from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and she was fucking hilarious, funny, and great to talk to. 2 years ago, I met Caroline Williams and Bill Moseley from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Bill Moseley's been in House of Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, Evil Dead 3, The Army of Darkness. The list goes on of what he's been in, and they were both really cool to talk to, really good to interact with, and that's the thing you want when you go to a convention, is interacting with people. That and the shit that you get through vendors. Like, I got a History of Fangoria book that has every cover that's ever been for Fangoria, which really takes you back, and memories just start flooding through your head as you're looking through it. I got artwork, I got some really cool posters, I got a book on slashers, which slasher films are my all-time favorite stuff. And I would just go out on a limb right here and right now and tell you that right now I'm actually currently working on a screenplay for a horror movie I'm going to be making, and it's going to be in the vein of the 1980s slasher films, but with more story, so it's not just stab, stab, stab. It's going to have more backstory and more stuff involved in the picture. So I'm just letting you all know I'm working on a horror film right now, and I'll give you guys updates on what the process is going through. Right now I'm trying to figure out the right location to film in, trying to get the story just right, because I don't want... dialogue's always been some of my problems sometimes, trying to make the dialogue look really good. I really can't wait to get into filming, and I think that would be really cool. I'm really looking for trying to find a really good makeup effects team, so that's what I just want to let you guys know that I'm going to be doing that. It will be the first official project, feature-length movie for Splattergore Pictures. So I will see you all later.